You ready, Edwin? You recording? Yes, I am. All right, let's do it. Hello. Once again, we are here at the Juniper Tree Podcast. I'm excited because we got another wonderful message for you today.
Absolutely.
And here it is. You ready? It is Narcotics Anonymous.
Yes.
N.A.
N.A.,
Yeah.
correct.
Let's deal with it.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
am Pastor Chris here at the Juniper Tree. I am one of the hosts, one of them. But the other host, I'm going to let her introduce herself now.
I'm Mariam S., and I am here today introducing a good lady from Narcotic Anonymous, and her name is Melissa P. And she's going to tell us a little bit about her story because I think this message needs to be shared. It needs to be shared with the community because there's so many people who are hurting with narcotics, okay? So we are here, we're going to have fun, and we're going to tell you about NA. Now, what is NA? NA, Narcotic Anonymous, is a spiritual-based program based on the 12 steps of AA.
Right.
And it is a program of mutual aid in the recuperation of drug addiction.
All right.
Now, what is the focus?
Tell us.
We're going to be talking about how do you join?
Yeah.
Is there a cause? How do you find a meeting? And we're going to be explaining, anonymity. Anonymity is a very important part of this program. It is essential so that there's no stigmatism, So stigma is very bad, and people sometimes they don't want to seek help because they don't want to be known. But Melissa wants to be brave, and she wants to share her story, all right? So let's start with what is the focus of NA, Melissa?
NA is like you had stated, it's a 12-step program, and it is...
It's a recovery program,
It's a recovery
right?
program, yes.
Okay.
It is a group where people who suffer from narcotics addiction can come together and support one another through their journey of recovery. The 12 steps are written very simply. The program I've found is it isn't easy, but it's simple. Mm-hmm. And the anonymity of it all is crucial for me in my recovery. One of the things that played a big part in keeping me in active addiction was shame. Yeah. And to be known as an addict in active addiction and being able to surrender to that own personal truth for me was the beginning of letting go of shame. And in order to let go of shame, it requires such vulnerability.
Oh, absolutely.
And for many people that I know within the program, but me especially, being vulnerable,
being honest, right?
It's scary. Putting yourself out there, and the thing is, for me, going into recovery was, it was such a major part of my life for so long. Yet I knew very little about it, other than the control it had over me.
Okay.
And because of the stigma of society, you were not able to go, hey, you know what, I'm an addict, can you help me out?
I have a problem, right.
It just wasn't available. So I know going into the rooms of NA, whether it be Zoom or in-person rooms, it is such a great gift that we give each other as members of NA a safe place.
Yeah,
where we can be vulnerable.
You can be open, honest.
Because when we are, that's when we're never alone.
Right.
We will never be alone as long as we stay out of the shame of the disease.
Correct. Now, this is one of the books that they have. There's their symbol, NA, that's how you find it everywhere. And the interesting part about it, it was founded in 1953.
All right.
And it was founded by, Jimmy Kinnon in California. Now they're in more than 144 countries. It is worldwide. Yeah, you can find it anywhere in the world if you're seeking. Now, it says in here, who is an addict? Most of us do not have to think twice about this question. We know. Our whole life and thinking was centered in drugs in one form or another. The getting and using and finding ways and means to get more. We live to use and use to live. Very simply, an addict is a man or woman whose life is controlled by drugs. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
We are people in the grip of continuing and progressive illness whose ends are always the same. And this is the story of so many jails, institutions, even mental institutions, and death. It is a slow moving death. As addicts, we are people whose use of any mind-altering, mood-changing substance causes a problem in any area of life. You know, the stories that they tell us that we hear is that it affects their jobs, it affects their families, it affects everything in life, you know, how to deal with life. So anyway, yes, it is a beautiful program. I also hear that some of the programs some of the meetings are open. That means anyone can go and visit. Of course, the time allotted is to share is only for the addicts themselves because that's where they find the healing, okay? If you go there just to visit, it's okay, but you have to be quiet. All right, you just go to learn. There are other meetings that are closed, okay? That means only the people with the addiction get to attend. And there are others who are closed to men only, okay? So there are different meetings. There are meetings in person, and with COVID-19 also now they're meeting in Zoom. Of course, most people like the closeness and the hugs, you know. Every new member is the most important member of the group. Absolutely. And also, they are greeted with a hug and with a little medal to let them know that they're very much loved. So this is what this literature says in here. And also, I would like to read, they also have literature about, you know, this is called Just for Today. And I want to read what it is for today. It's a daily reader, okay?
All right.
So it was very appropriate, and I thought, oh, wow. Okay. August 15. Overtime and not overnight. That's the title. We found that we do not recover physically, mentally, or spiritually overnight. And that's in their basic test. Have you ever approached a recovery celebration with a feeling that you should be further along in your recovery than you are? Maybe you have listened to newcomers sharing in meetings members with much less clean time and thought, but I'm just barely beginning to understand what they're talking about. It's odd that we should come into recovery thinking that we feel wonderful right away or no longer have any difficulty handling life's twists and turns. We expect our physical problems to correct themselves, our thinking to become rational, and a fully developed spiritual life to manifest itself overnight. We forget, and this is the important part, we forget that we spent years abusing our bodies, numbing our minds, and suppressing our awareness of a higher power. We cannot undo the damage in a day. We can, however, apply the next step, go to the next meeting, help the next newcomer. We heal and recover bit by bit, not overnight, but over time. Just for today, my body will heal a little. My mind will become a little clearer, and my relationship with my higher power will strengthen. And also from yesterday, August 14, it said, most of us come to the program with a multitude of self-imposed limitations that prevent us from realizing our full potential. In Narcotics Anonymous, we are given a process by which we can recognize these false limitations for what they are. We don't have to be the lifelong victims of past experiences. We are free to discard the ideas that inhibit our growth. We are free to laugh, to cry, and above all, to enjoy our recovery. And just for today, yesterday, I will let go of my self-imposed limitations and open my mind to new ideas. And that's the beauty of, remember that recently we presented you with Al-Anon, you know, and Al-Anon is a program that helps the families of the people who are in drug addiction, because they are also affected. It's a family disease.
Amen.
I mean, the doing of the addict and the alcoholic affects the family. So this Al-Anon and Alateen is a program for them. But there's also AA for Alcoholics Anonymous, and today we are highlighting Narcotic Anonymous, and that's where Melissa is going to help us. Melissa, tell me, how do you join?
Joining NA, it's about showing up.
Showing up. Okay.
There are no dues, there's no requirements, there's no pledges to be made. This is all in the literature.
Right.
And
But our listeners,
to be a
we're
member
letting-
of NA, you show up.
Yes, and also the one requirement is to have the desire to stop doing drugs.
Yep.
That's the most crucial thing. I mean, you know, because some people go because the court sends them, but they don't have the desire yet to really, really quit, which is not easy, okay? This is a lifelong journey, and it doesn't get easy, okay? It gets easier each day. Now, what is the secret, Melissa, for people to maintain their not doing drugs?
For me, in my experience and what I've been honored to have shared with me by other members, I find that a common key for them and for me is remaining present. Being in today is really the only place we can be. We know
Okay.
what yesterday was about, and we don't want to
Okay.
go back there. And we
Okay.
can't predict tomorrow. We're living in the future, producing anxiety for ourselves.
Okay.
And so being in the present, being in the here and the now and the today, for me is the absolute key for my recovery. And I've heard it many, many times in meetings that is, in fact, the key for many people, is
Right.
being present.
So you don't need to be rehearsing your past, because your past, you know, unless you forgive your past and you forgive yourself, you can't go forward.
Right? We don't want to forget our past.
Right.
It's not about forgetting.
No.
It's about not living in it.
Right,
And
no
if
living
we live
in
in
it.
the present, we can find closure, we can find forgiveness,
Right.
and we can move on. But we need to be able to draw strength from it.
Right,
Being in
right.
active addiction, it takes a strength that I don't think the general population would understand. What it takes from you to be out there doing like what you had read, you know, who is an addict, the chasing and finding and getting and
Yes.
hiding.
You
and
waste so much time.
It is. It takes a lot of energy that just isn't required for standard life.
Right.
And if
You're hiding from the police. You're
Yeah.
hiding from your family.
but
you know,
worst
you-
of all, you're trying to hide from yourself. and
Yes,
you
yeah.
can't.
My.
That is
Right.
impossible. We
Yeah.
cannot
Right.
do it. There's not enough drugs out there for us to disconnect from ourselves.
Right.
And ironically enough, it leads to more drug use, because I think for some addicts, at least for me, I felt that maybe just a little bit more would take away the pain or the shame or
right.
the memories or whatever it was
Right.
that led to the lifestyle that
Right.
I had taken on. But it's important to be in the here and the now. Don't forget yesterday, but don't live in it.
Right.
Now,
Right.
my question is, can you give me an example for those who are listening? How do you live in it, like the past? What's an example?
Living in the past is repeating the behavior,
Yeah.
staying in connection with those that
Yep.
you live that lifestyle with. You can't do that. You cannot have, and I don't want to say you can't. My program is about me and my recovery and
Right,
my
right,
journey. So by no means do I mean to speak on behalf of any other recovering addict. But for me, I can't, they call it people, places, and things. You can't have those things and have what you want today for tomorrow.
Right. My understanding of that is that in order to be free from drug addiction, you have to attend the meetings, okay? You have to get the loving and understanding and the support from there and learn from them. you have to have a sponsor. Most people choose a sponsor that has been clean for a long time, so that when life comes at you, like death and whatever, death and loss of a job, loss of a relationship, you don't go crazy. You don't go back to what you used to do when you got pain. Now you had to find another way of dealing with pain and facing reality. So that's why a sponsor is so important. And also, you had to work hard at this. And read the literature, it's going to help you. And also, you have to leave your past friends, right?
Yes.
And delete from your phone book all of the other numbers, the people, places, and everything else where you used to get the drugs. Because if not, it's an easy relapse.
Yes.
You're asking for a relapse right then.
And that's what I hear from any addiction. It doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
If you don't eliminate the
triggers.
what is it?
It's
the
referred
atmosphere.
It's referred to as holding on to reservation.
Reservation.
And it's kind of like not closing the door all the way.
Yeah.
Just leaving it cracked just in case, right?
And I found out that people who have addictions, it wasn't so much that it was the drug, but it was the environment.
Yes.
It was like they go back, and even if you go back to that place after being free, just being in that environment will pull you
It's a temptation.
back in,
Right.
And before you
It's
know
a
it, you're back in a
weakness.
place that you never want to be.
Right.
Is that true?
Well, I have been blessed and fortunate not to go,
Yeah,
not to
praise
have
God for
relapsed.
that. Praise God.
But I understand that, and it's a common term to hear, once too many, 1,000's not enough. And when the people I have seen that leave that reservation, that leave that door ajar, hold on to that one phone number just in case.
Just in case.
Just in case.
Yeah.
And
There's always a just in case.
there's always, just
But
in
life
case.
just comes to you
Just
just
in
in
case, you
case.
know,
Right.
And so when when things get difficult, and in all humans,
And they
not just
will.
addict,
Yeah.
life is gonna get difficult, and we
Right.
go
Right.
to what we know.
Yeah.
And for some people, if it's drug addiction, alcohol addiction, we go to that. There's a comfort in that.
Absolutely.
I've never met anybody that has said, hey, when I grow up, I want to be an addict. But when you've lived that life, it becomes comfortable. It's not desirable, but it's a comfortable place. We're familiar with the chaos and the drama and the fear and the anxiety. And so to go into recovery and leave all of that behind is extremely terrifying. And for
Yes.
non-addicts, it couldn't seem confusing. Well, why would you want that life? Why do you want that life where you're hiding out and you're on probation and you got the law looking
Jail,
after you?
yeah.
Why do you want that?
Right.
And I think with a lot of different scenarios in life, it's not desirable, but there's a comfort in knowing what to expect.
Right.
And when you expect total chaos and you get total chaos, you're not caught off guard, and you're able to protect yourself within that vulnerability.
Right.
When you know what's coming, it's almost easier to create the chaos than it is to wait for it to find you, because in that lifestyle, it will find you.
Yeah.
It will find you, whether it be a weekend to active addiction or 30 years. I do believe, and for me, it found me. And every recovering addict, I believe, has a profound moment in their life
Right.
where they make that decision, whether it's by the courts, whether it's by family, or whether it's just that day they get up and they look in the mirror and they said, I'm done.
Right.
And saying
And
it,
our friends need to get to that place.
saying it and doing it is two totally different
Right,
things, but
right.
that's where the surrender comes in.
Right.
And you have to accept that you have a problem. You have to surrender to that disease, and then you move on to finding your higher power, whoever that may be or whatever that may be for you.
Now,
Right,
wait.
right,
Did you just say you have to admit it?
You have
had
to
to
admit it to yourself.
Wait. You
Say
mean
that
I
about-
gotta tell people?
No.
I gotta tell myself.
That's even harder.
Yeah.
You mean I have to look myself in the mirror and say, hey,
Remember,
You
you're
got
in
a problem.
denial.
Man,
Yeah,
you-
remember, we are in denial.
Yeah.
They're in
You
denial.
need the crumbs off the table. That's what
We're real good at telling
right.
everybody else what they want
Yeah.
to hear.
Yeah.
We've got that
Oh,
down. 'cause
absolutely.
that gets us what we want. If we
Yeah.
come up
Yeah.
with the right words we can play the game. But when that moment comes, and
The
it may come
lying,
several
the
times for people.
hiding,
Fortunately, it's been
yeah.
one time for me where I looked in the mirror and I said, "You got a problem.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it?"
Right.
And I had the choice. I could have simply gone right back to
So
that.
What got you? And I know you don't want to go there, but I'm so curious, just for the sake of the listeners as well. When you had that defining moment, right? I'm sure that you have looked at yourself many times before, and said the same thing, and did the same thing again. What was different about that defining moment?
I believe for me was I didn't know what recovery would entail for me, but I knew what picking up did. I knew what getting high one more time did, and that was comforting to me. But I didn't know what recovery had, and I wanted what I believed it could be.
Right,
I
right.
had no surety. There were no
Yeah.
promises.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to be sick.
Anymore.
And when I came and
Right.
accepted the fact that I was sick, then I
And then you
realized I
needed
had
help.
a choice.
Right, you needed.
But, I mean, it wasn't like a light bulb went off and it was the very first time I went, "Hey, girl, you're doing a little bit too much of the wrong stuff." It was, "Are you going to keep doing this?" And I had a moment where the door, in a blessing today, did not seem like a blessing at the time, where that door was open just enough
Yeah.
where I had an opportunity to be vulnerable to my loved ones. They basically made themselves available. "You got a problem. We know you got a problem. What do you want to do about it?" And right then I had a choice. I could have denied it, could have
Yeah.
lied about it, could have
Yeah.
blamed it on somebody
Yeah.
else.
Oh, yeah,
That
that's the
wasn't
easy
mine.
game.
That's
Right,
our
right.
natural
Right?
human
Yeah.
response.
Oh,
We
they
don't want to
totally.
be vulnerable in front of anybody.
Yeah.
And that is a
Yeah.
natural response
Yeah.
because of shame.
Yeah. And
And I was tired of being ashamed because what I believed was being the best that I could be. And
Yeah.
when I realized that this was a road that I had not traveled, I'd seen many people in my life travel the road of recovery successfully.
Yeah.
And they didn't make it look easy.
Yeah.
And so that was scary. But
and it is not easy.
No, they did not lie. It was not
Right,
easy.
right, right.
But I think for my personal experience, I knew that the shame of recovery could not possibly be as the same as the shame of active addiction. So
Right,
I knew
Yeah,
that I
that's
would.
good.
I
That's
knew
good.
that I was taking a risk, and it sounds strange that you're taking a risk doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Right,
I
right,
get
right.
it.
It's-
Because
it
it's a new
seems
thing.
odd.
It is not in the DNA, right? You know, you need to change the DNA right there and then.
Yes, I believe that I was an addict long before I had picked up the substance.
Right, right. The
And
behaviors.
the behavior, the active addiction.
The controlling, the anger,
Were you
the
sober when you
pain.
made this decision?
No.
Ah!
No, I
You
was
were high.
actually still under the controlled substance. I hadn't like recently, but it was definitely still in my system, and I wasn't like spent. I wasn't like out there.
Yeah.
But my family came to me and they said, "Hey, we got this. What's the deal?"
Right.
And I knew, and for a brief moment, I thought, "I'm gonna blame somebody, right? That's not
Yes.
mine."
Yeah.
You know,
That's us. That is
and,
us.
that's the human nature,
Yes,
right?
that's
Not
us.
mine.
Just like our father Abraham,
Right,
Adam and Eve.
Yeah,
Yes,
not
yes.
mine.
Woman, you gave me this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And the woman, the Satan, the serpent
Yeah,
here.
the serpent. No, the woman said, no, it was the serpent. Right.
yeah, I
Right.
didn't do it,
Right.
not me.
So basically, my understanding is that a lot of people get into a drug addiction problem because of physical pain. You know, they were injured somehow due to disease or to the pain or PTSD, like in the military. So the doctors do not know how to handle the pain of the military, the injuries, the memories, the nightmares, the suffering, the reliving of the pain, the reliving of the, and as being military, you understand that.
Yep.
So the easiest thing for them is to medicate them. to give them this drug and to give them the other. But also after surgery, a lot of people experience pain or different things, or they have different diseases. So now the doctors are giving the pills, the patient is getting problems with the addiction, and now the doctor doesn't know how to do that except to medicate. Now, we start perhaps with maybe alcohol and maybe marijuana, and then that is not enough, and now, the gateway, right, it's the open door. But then very soon that is not enough. Now it is the self-medication. Now there is different drugs. I don't even know all the different names, cocaine, and maybe you can help me.
My drug of choice was methamphetamine.
Methamphetamines, okay, all right. So, but, it starts with something at one point or another. Maybe it was parents not involved, maybe parents being alcoholic, maybe parents being drug addicted, maybe sexual abuse, and maybe rejection and abandonment, not having a loving, caring family, trauma. All of those are kind of the possible causes or reasons as to why one is trying to self-medicate and eventually end up doing a lot of damage.
May I add that mental illness?
Oh, absolutely, yes, mental illness.
So even if it's not an external situation that leads to a prescription medication,
Correct.
Or if it's a life-lived experience such as military or PTSD, or even childhood trauma of sexual abuse or physical abuse,
right.
or neglect.
Yes.
The one more major obstacle, that's not enough. We get added into mental illness. People with depression, they're going to turn to alcohol. They're going to turn to marijuana.
Yes.
People that deal with anxiety, social anxiety,
Exactly.
or even self-worth and shame.
Yes. Someone telling you you're not worth anything,
or you're not doing it good enough.
Right,
that
right.
seems to be kind of now that I can reflect, I can see a lot of that you're not good enough. We need more hours. We need more productivity out of you. You got 4 kids, and you got to get up, and you got to be up all night, and you got to be up all day. So it in a lot of ways, and I hate to see it get overlooked, and it does in society a lot. Not within the program so much have I seen, but how mental illness can play just as big, if not in a lot of ways, bigger roles in what leads to active addiction.
Right.
And you'll hear me say active addiction or active recovery, because I'm always going to be an addict. I will never be cured from this disease. I understand that, and I'm okay with that. Acceptance. I have a disease that is incurable. However, as you'll read in the literature, it can be halted, and it can be treated, but it cannot be cured. And it's unfortunately, there's not a beautiful little magic pill that will fix us. For me personally, my cure, my healing, because there is no cure, my healing began when I connected with a higher power. Amen. And I find that over and over and over within the program. And there's other programs for recovery that are not 12-step oriented. My program.
Y'all hear that?
Yeah.
Did y'all hear that out there?
Right.
She said it wasn't until she connected.
Reconnected.
I just want y'all to reconnected. Are you hearing this?
Right.
Reconnected with the high. Don't underestimate the higher power. I'm telling you.
And this program, the beauty of this program is that it asks you to have a higher power. Because, one of the steps says that we became. Wait a minute, what is it? Let me read it. It says, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol or drug addiction, that our lives had become unmanageable. Number 2, this is this 12 spiritual program that we're talking about today with Al-Anon and also NA today, that we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves, greater than drug addiction, greater than alcoholism.
This is amazing to me. Excuse me, I'm a preacher. So I get excited over stuff like this, right?
I like.
Because if you think about this, as you describe, the place that you were, right? And how dark it was and how you were and had the anxiety and you wanted to do this and do that. You think about that. You couldn't control it.
No.
And the biggest thing that we like to do is our pride. You know what I mean? We have
Yes.
our pride. We like to feel like we're in control.
Control, yes.
But to come to a conclusion that I cannot control it. But that's one thing. That's hard already by itself. The second thing that is hard to do is to recognize that God, or a higher power
Yes.
is
To
able.
us is God, right.
Yeah,
But yeah,
right.
He's
and to
able.
a lot of people are. Yes.
They need to know God is able.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Man, that'll preach. God is able. I promise you. He's able. He's
And
able
willing.
to pull you from the depths of which,
Despair.
man, he'll pull you from the mud, the murk, the mire, and turn you
Exactly.
around, give you a new life, a new purpose, and take you on a journey you've never been on, right? And even though you're afraid, sure, because you're the unknown. We all get afraid of the unknown. But the truth is, he'll see you through.
Right.
And I think that's where you are, right? You're going through the journey.
And I discovered that it's not that the people I know in recovery, or even myself, I was raised with an understanding of God, and I am a member of a organized religion.
Okay.
I think what happens is when you're in that despair. For me,
Yeah,
let me
talk
get this
about
right
it.
back. Me,
Yeah,
a being that I recognize as the devil.
yeah,
He's the one that told me that only he will love me,
yeah.
that God don't love me.
Yeah.
And if he did it one
Go
time,
ahead, talk about it.
that he never will again, that I wasn't worthy of that love, that
Yeah.
I was just a dopehead.
Yeah.
I was just a druggie.
Yeah,
I don't deserve anything that's good in this life,
yeah,
and that I'm here for suffering,
yeah.
and to be prepared.
Oh, he laid it on you.
Oh,
then.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Lots of
And
lies,
I
huh?
yes, he did. And I recognized that was very much a part of the disease. What gets us into active addiction is as broad as what gets us into active recovery.
I'm tracking. Yeah.
But for me personally, when you're comfortable with that kind of sickness and chaos, you get comfortable with your adversary. You get he's
Man,
your
you speaking today.
you feel
My God.
you feel a
Melissa, you're doing
connection-
great.
You feel a connection with something that is as dark and dirty as you are, or you believe that you are.
Right. Because see, the addiction takes you to places where you never wanted to be, like a crack house. You wake up next to someone that you don't even know.
No.
You sell yourself, for the next high. Many people, many women, many men do that because the brain gets affected. See, I mean, besides the physical withdrawal, okay, the desire to do the drugs, there's also the mental desire, the brain asking, begging, searching, looking for that drug. The next high. That's the only job it has.
It's an obsession on
And it's
its
an
own.
obsession, yeah.
It
is a
for
life.
me, it was right next to drawing my next breath.
Yeah.
What's getting
This
my
is
next breath.
this is
It
what.
was, my life depended on it.
Yeah.
And it is so important that the Al-Anon program exists, and I don't believe I've ever spoken on behalf of it. But when an addict can be surrounded by people that understand the disease,
right.
I had this chip on my shoulder. Well, if you ain't lived it, you don't know nothing. Even to my therapist, were you abused? No, get out here. You don't know what you're talking about. But we cannot. When we go into the recovery rooms, we say, "You're never alone," and we say, "Welcome home," and that's what we say to the newcomers.
Okay.
Welcome home. And it says that at my Al-Anon Club meeting, there's a banner. It says, "Welcome home." And I went down to the Vernal Convention the first week of June of this year, and I walked into their.
So they do have meetings, they do have
We
conventions,
do,
they
yes.
have
Oh, yeah,
parties.
we had camp convention.
They
all
have
kinds of
camps,
activities, yes.
So they do have a program
Lots
for the
of
people.
interaction.
Yeah.
When I walked into that building, there was a sign that said, "Welcome home." And
Okay.
it dawned on me that home wasn't a building.
Right.
Home wasn't walls. Home wasn't a front door. Home was a place where I was able to go with my fellows, is what they call it, the fellowship of NA.
Okay.
And these people knew me. And I'd never been to
They
Vernal.
understood
I didn't
you.
know these people inside this building. but they understood me.
Right,
And
right,
that's what
right.
home is. Is that not what family is? People that know you, they know your story, and they love you anyways.
And they accept you, right?
And they accept you
And see, that is the
anyway.
most important part about it. Oh,
Thank
I
you for
know,
that.
I
You're
know.
blessing my soul today. I'm telling you.
The unity of the fellowship cannot be described in words. I wish it could be. But suffering addicts wouldn't believe me anyways. They just wouldn't. And that's why, I mean, one of the big sayings that they say in recovery is we only get to keep what we have when we give it away.
Right.
And I can truly say that the program and the people within the program have given to me freely something that I am more than willing to give away.
Their stories, their love, their acceptance.
Their safe place.
It's safe
Every
place.
time I go to a meeting and I get to share, I am so thankful for these human beings that I may never not see outside that room again.
Right,
Or not
right.
until the next week, or maybe they don't come back, or maybe they're visitors.
Right.
But they, because of them, I am given a place where I can process my feelings and I can let go of my shame.
Yeah, oh, it
When
is a
you-
beautiful
when
program.
you're sitting in a room full of people, and we had a huge meeting, the biggest meeting we've had since COVID that I've been in, and there's a room full of people that are just nodding their head while they're listening to you.
Right.
You know, to know that someone out there knows this. And when I was in active addiction, it was like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, so what? But my story, right? Yeah, you think that's bad. My story. And top and yav. You think you got it bad? Let me tell you bad. You know?
You thought you hit bottom. Let
yeah,
me tell you mine.
yeah, you think you got it tough, right?
Yeah.
But
And I share this with you. And I ask a question afterwards. But the one thing that stands out to me, of course, because I am the preacher, you know. But she says you get comfortable with that. She
negative.
described it, and she didn't say that it was her alone. She said, no, there is the enemy there. There's the devil, and you get comfortable with him, and he talks to you, right? And he keeps you in that place. And the scary part, and as she said, if you get comfortable with it, he becomes your friend. But the friend is the one that keeps you down.
Keep you there, yeah. Keeps you chained, keeps you bound,
This
keeps
is
you
a-
in darkness, keeps you in chains.
But you had a great support system, your family. And my question is your family still there to support you as you continue this?
the dynamics of my family has changed drastically.
Okay,
At the time I went into recovery, my support system consisted of my husband.
good stuff.
And the unhealthy people that were in my life had to get further distance from me, and the people that were healthy in my life had to go about their recovery in a different way.
Gotcha.
They had to begin their healing from, everything, in every aspect that I touched their lives with betrayal. When I got honest in the program, rigorous honesty, they refer to it as, and there's a reason for that. I had to share things about myself that I didn't get caught on. I couldn't just say, yeah, that's my stuff, right? Okay, no, don't ask any more questions. When you're getting honest, you got to put it all out there. You got to, and every
Whether it is painful
Yeah.
or shameful.
it absolutely.
Now,
And
you
so
said
You have to
get
own
honest.
it.
You said when I got
Yeah.
honest. So there was a point in that meeting that you didn't share all this?
no, I'm
Did it-
talking
did-
about with my family,
Okay,
and
okay,
as things
okay.
started to get more and more
So
revealed.
you had to even
more and
be
more-
more vulnerable?
Well, I can't heal if I'm holding on to the lies.
And
better
also,
say
in the,
that. You
also,
better-
There is no healing.
You better say
Holding
that.
on to the lies empowers the disease.
right,
Amen.
right.
And in order to set myself free,
I'm going to listen to this podcast and just write down the notes.
in
You know
order
what I mean?
share it in your next section. For me, you can't just give a little bit of honesty and expect to get well.
100%.
You get as honest as you get.
Right.
So, but
truth,
Uh,
the
what
truth will
surprised
set you
But the truth shall set you free.
free.
I think a lot
Getting
of
me
addicts,
excited.
and for me especially, I kind of thought like I'll put it all out there and then we're gonna like have a big group hug, and it didn't happen that way.
No.
It happened to be you did what?
Yeah.
You said huh?
Yeah.
Right.
You lied when?
Yeah.
And now these people
Distrust
in my
coming,
life,
yeah.
yes, and now these secrets are being told, and now they have to heal. My children were betrayed by their mother, and so they had to distance themselves to heal.
Right.
And that, of course, was one of my concerns while in active addiction. If they find out, I'm not going to see the grandbabies no more.
Right.
If they find out, they're not going to take my calls anymore. If they find out this, they're not going to trust that.
And that
And
happens
that
quite
keeps
a
you
lot.
sick, and that keeps you sick.
Right,
And
right.
so, I say vulnerability in what I understood to be vulnerable was like, walking through the front room with the curtains open and you ain't got your towel on. That's vulnerable, but no. Vulnerability and recovery
Is walking down the street.
That's absolutely, it is walking down the street without your bath towel on. It is, because there are consequences that you can't foresee.
Yeah. Because you don't know if your
You-
family is going to accept it
Or
or
your
love
friends,
you
or your
distance.
extended family. What about
Exactly.
your in-laws?
What
and
about
their
your
family
job?
and your
Yeah.
job? I wasn't working at the time, so I'm okay there. But so my family has had to take the last 330 days, because that's how long I've been clean, 330 days to heal themselves.
Right.
And the old me in the disease, I was entitled.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What do you mean? I tell you all of this, and now you're not going to take my calls
Yeah.
after everything I did for you, and
know
you're not
what
going
I
to
did?
forgive me,
Right.
Yeah.
right?
You know how hard that was for me?
Yeah. Where's my payoff? You know what? My payoff is when I get to look in the mirror today and be proud of the woman I've become. And when I was able
I
to
wish I would've heard
define
this earlier. I thought you would help my sermon today a little better. That's good though. Go ahead. I'm listening.
when I am able to be proud of who I am and I find my worth within me and not on the kind of daughter, the kind of sister, the kind of mother, grandmother, neighbor.
Oh, your titles,
That
huh?
was where my value was in this world. So when it was taken away because people needed to go take care of themselves,
They distance.
I found me
Yeah.
all
They reject
alone
you.
with
Yeah.
no worth. I never felt so small in all my life.
And so alone, probably.
So alone.
Right.
So alone. I didn't think I could breathe. But it was a blessing. Here we are, 330 days later. I realized that they had to go that way, and they had to go that way, and they have to go to their Al-Anons, and they got to do their thing. They got their children to protect and to raise and to care for. And I thought I was being abandoned, and what I was being given the blessing of me.
Amen.
Because I thought nobody wanted me,
Yeah.
but I needed me.
Yeah.
And I hadn't been taking care of me.
Right.
So I don't know what's going to happen with my
It's
children.
probably more because you didn't want you.
No,
You
absolutely not.
understood that I wouldn't want me. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
yeah.
My value was based on how much I could give everybody else in this world. And if they didn't follow up with a thank you or you're great, then I just blew out 8 hours of my day for nothing. And that's not what life is. That's not what relationships is. That's not what motherhood is.
Right. See, a lot of the people in this program get there because they have lost their children.
Absolutely. And a
So
lot of people
many,
are there from the courts.
so
and
many, yes.
the people that show up in those rooms show up from all different avenues.
Right.
I mean, I've
For
seen
many
people
reasons.
just come up off the street and go, what's going on? We're like, we're having a meeting, take a seat. And then other people, this is something you'll love. When I was looking for my own 12-step, I was coming out of my IOP program, and I knew I needed aftercare from my aftercare.
What is IOP?
Intensive outpatient program.
I got
That
you.
was the
Okay.
drug treatment I had. I never went into residential. I didn't do a drug program. I did a 12-week IOP program, and we were wrapping that up.
Intensive
and
inpatient
we started
program.
talking about, am I going to get a sponsor? Am I going to get meetings and all of that? And I'd gone onto the NA website, and they said the Alano Club, 1 o'clock, search for Serenity NA meeting. So I drive down there, and the door's locked. And there's a sign on the door that said COVID, right?
Yeah, they closed for a while, I hear,
Oh,
right?
I was mad. I was mad. Oh, really? Right? And on my way home, I'm like, she live over there. She live over, right? But I went home. And the next week, I checked the website, and it was on there again. And I get down there, and there's a note on the door. Now I'm mad. You guys can't update your website, right?
Right.
The victim.
Right. This is
right?
recovery for you, right?
This is God telling me I need to go get loaded, right? I can
Now
take
you
the
have a
sign,
reason.
right?
Now you have a reason.
I
You're
have a
mad, you're
So
frustrated.
there I was. on
Life
the-
is not working for
was-
you.
I was on the steps of the meeting house, and I was on my knees, and I could see it says NA Search for Recovery, and I start banging on the door. I need serenity. And I kept banging on that door. Nobody answered because they weren't open.
Yeah.
But I went home and I looked up in the dictionary the meaning of serenity. Because I'm discovering in recovery, I don't know nearly as much as I thought I knew. About anything.
I'm in recovery because I'm sure enough discovering I don't know.
Serenity is when you can find peace within in a world of external chaos. And
We're going to be talking about the Serenity Prayer.
Okay.
Remind me that.
beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful
Yes,
prayer.
it is.
But it's just, yeah, I miss the people I love the most. The people I love the most, I hurt the most. And the best way to show love, the best way to make amends, and we talk about that in the 12
Yes.
steps.
Oh, let me read the step, okay? That's number 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. And number 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Now, that takes courage.
Yep.
That takes admittance that you have hurt someone, and now I had to go and look for you, see how I can repair the damage. I mean, they might reject me. They might send me, whatever, because they're in pain. I caused the pain.
Well, I'd like to
But
throw
to
in
admit that, that is hard.
the things with the steps, though. These steps are in order for a reason.
Yes.
And so when you make it to the 8th step, you've already done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Right.
7. And so it's a process. You
It's a
can't go
process.
from accepting that I'm sick to, hey, I hurt you.
I need a
Here's
higher
all
power.
my confessions.
Right.
Step 4 is resentments and forgiveness and things like
Yeah.
that. And once we process,
Wow. Number
the
4.
harm-
Let me go back to number 4. I'm sorry,
That's all right.
Melissa. And this is what we all need to do. This is not just this program.
I'm sitting here being blessed. I'm like, wow, yes.
This 12 step is not just for AA. It's for
It is for
daily
life.
living.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this
It
good
is.
for me. I must
It
be in
is.
recovery because I promise you, I can.
it is for every aspect of our
Now,
lives.
look, this is the tough part. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Number 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs.
That would be our sponsor.
And
most
that's
likely.
where
It's our-
usually, that's where the
nah.
sponsor comes in. Now, come on,
No, the
Wait,
sponsor
wait.
comes in on the day you find it.
I don't know if the listeners or the viewers can see this, but
Yeah.
while she is reading these steps, Melissa is over here reciting them
yeah.
verbatim what you were saying. I'm like,
Exactly.
wow. see-
Exactly.
see,
It's in
absolutely
the
no-
heart. You have to remember all
And
of
I
these
just want
steps.
to point out that, hey, she is serious about this recovery. She
Yeah.
has learned this. She's got them. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I want to encourage you. You are a joy to me. And I encourage you to keep up the fight. Yes,
Thank you.
indeed. That is
Yeah.
your man.
So
praise
you know
God.
what? Most people get there because there's a deep wound in our hearts that has not been healed yet. Okay, and that's why the prayer, it requires to forgive, and also to offer forgiveness and to receive it. Because if you don't forgive yourself for all the things that you have said, that you have done, that you have stolen, that you have lied about, that you have,
That got some hard. That's a hard step.
oh
It
yeah,
is.
all of them are hard.
Yeah, that's some
Yes.
hard.
No, they're difficult.
Oh,
Yes.
difficult.
In my
Yeah.
recovery,
Yeah,
I don't
difficult.
have hard anything anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have difficult days. I have challenging days. I have difficult circumstances, but nothing is impossible for me
Amen.
anymore.
Amen.
Right.
And that is because of the NA program. I mean,
Right.
absolutely 100% is the NA program. And one of the big things on making the amends that I've found is there are people in our lives, maybe they've passed and we can't make amends,
Right.
or maybe they just don't want to answer their phones when we
Right,
call and we
right.
can't make direct
Or they're
amends.
very negative and also
Or
very
an unsafe environment
unsafe,
or so
right.
forth.
So
and
you
they
don't-
say when
yeah.
if we can't because it may harm them or others. I
Yes,
didn't
yes.
understand until I was in recovery. And that has to do with like people not wanting to be outed. So if I needed to make amends to somebody that involved somebody else act of addiction,
Right.
that's a slippery slope.
Mhm.
So, but what I have found are the people that I really want to make my amends to are not available for whatever reason. My
Yep.
mother's passed and my
Yep.
kids have distanced or whatever. It's called living the amends. So, we've said things that aren't nice we took a little extra change from the cashier, right? We knew they gave us
Little
too
or
much.
much.
A little or a lot. But when we cannot make those direct amends, the most beautiful thing is we can live those amends. And that's how we show our true, and I don't like the word remorse. Maybe that's
Repentance,
it's
perhaps.
where we show
A change of heart.
For me, my amend is about gratitude. And it's about not so much shame anymore, but gratefulness. And I can tell you that I am grateful for the things that you have done for me, and that I am working harder on being a person that is deserving of those greatness that you share with me as an individual, as a family member, a neighbor. And I get to live the example of the program.
Yeah.
And that is the greatest amends that I can give society. Because I broke the law, obviously, right?
Yep.
It's illegal to do what I was doing.
Right, and you paid a price too.
I never got in trouble with the authorities. I was
Ah,
very
you were
fortunate.
lucky.
I was
Wow.
very fortunate,
Good stuff.
not because I was smart, for sure.
But there are many people who are not that
But
lucky.
I
but
make
they do
my
pay the price.
amends
I would
to
get
my
caught the first time. I know me.
See, I thought that too.
I'm looking.
You won't. You won't get caught till you're in deep. Let me tell you. Nobody gets caught the first time.
You're right. He probably want to get me in deep, and then.
But some people, the addiction, not the addiction, but the drug is so hard that the first day they end up dead. The first time they even try it. I mean, it is not.
And what's really scary
is a
is
huge
people
risk.
will go into recovery and then go back out, they'll relapse.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think they can go back to the same
To what they were,
consumption,
right.
the same amount.
Yeah.
The same amount,
And
the
that-
same
it
friends, the
doesn't work
same
that way.
world, the
And,
same.
so, this.
Wait
this-
a minute, Melissa. I need to talk to you about. Explain the living the amends. Does that mean
Living the amends.
forwarding the gift to someone else,
Yes,
or what?
it's when you can't, we obviously can't fix what we did.
Right.
And
Yeah,
unfortunately,
you
there's
cannot
not a
repay
magic
it.
wand that says, here's your 1-year token, everybody's fixed. All is
No.
forgiven. It doesn't happen.
It doesn't
But
happen.
living the amends is when the opportunity doesn't arise for you to make financial restitution.
Right.
Let's say I stole something from you, and now you've moved to wherever, and I don't know how to get hold of you. I can give charitably to an organization that may be of need. Let's say I lied to you, forcing you to pull my job shift, my work hours, right? Because I didn't feel good, right? So I
Right,
took away something from you. Living the amends would be volunteering within the community. We took people out of their lives, out of their responsibilities, out of their pleasurable experiences to meet our needs as addicts. Whether it was, I'm not giving you money, I owe you, now you're out the money, right? Or I'm not showing up for work, now you got to pull a double, right? We don't realize the
You're right.
broad
You're
spectrum of our disease
Yeah.
until we're in recovery.
Right.
So I cannot pay back every dime I shorted somebody in one way or another.
Right.
And I can't give you back your time with your children because you were taking care of
You
me
cannot take
instead.
away my pain that you caused me.
I can't do that. But
You can't heal me.
I
you know?
cannot give back what I so selfishly took, but I can give back what I so freely wish to return to you. I can give it back to you and say, here's your money, go away. But when I'm giving back me, that is so much more important than the financial restitution. You've gone on without your $20 I lifted off of you, right?
Yeah, right.
Half of y'all didn't
Right.
even know I
Yeah,
got it.
forgot it.
But
Yep.
but for me, my amends is not the most important thing to understand about recovery and forgiveness is for us. I
Yeah.
forgive you because I need and deserve to live a life without hostility and anger.
Right.
And so when I go to
She
you
is
and I
so
say,
right on that.
when I go to you and I say, I'm sorry for what I did to you, you saying I forgive you has nothing to do with me. That is not mine. That is not a gift you're giving me. That is a gift you're giving yourself.
I got a question.
Absolutely.
I
Just
love
when you
it.
have been preaching.
Yes,
Just when you have been preaching,
I got a
Pastor
question.
Young.
I do have a question. Were you like this before? Or did this
Insightful?
person? Well, I mean, you kind of in tune right now. You know what I mean? So, Is this something that you discovered after doing your recovery?
No, the difference between me now and me in active addiction, as far as our dialogue and my insight in relationships and things like that, methamphetamine examperated me.
Oh,
So
okay. Like any drug or alcohol.
I was able to connect to you as an individual and have deep conversations with you. You just weren't going to get a word in edgewise. And if you were wrong, I was going to be rude and call you out on it. So I believe that I've been insightful, that I can connect. I believe I connect with people at a deep level because of my own lived experiences. But I've been able to talk the talk a really long time.
Yeah.
Recovery allows me to walk it.
Well, the difference is it's not just talk with you. It's you elude what you say. You can clearly tell
It's her
that
experience.
you believe it. Like
It's
you
her
went through
story.
some stuff,
Yeah.
and you know, like you even talk about yesterday was yesterday, and I'm not going back there, right? Your tone, the talk, it's not so much the talk, it's the way you talk and what you talk about. And that's what I'm asking. Is this something that your recovery or after the fact or what your experiences has taught you?
I've always been passionate. I guess the way to word it would be, I've always thought in the demeanor and the manner in which we're communicating, this deep level of connection between humans, but I was always faking it. In recovery, I have found a way. It's kind of like, you know, you got your left shoe on your left foot and your right shoe on your right foot.
Yep.
But are you sure?
Yeah.
You pretty sure?
Yeah.
Go ahead, check. I don't have to check anymore. But I was pretty sure. So I was confident what I would say and what I would share and what I would give. You know, and I have a history. I have bipolar disorder, so this isn't my first rodeo as far as being support to some type of mental issues such as drug addiction. This is my first rodeo with addiction, however. So I've always been able to connect with people just because of my life experiences. And I've always been willing to be vulnerable. What I learned in recovery, though, which is amazingly enough, is choosing who I'm willing to be vulnerable with.
Oh, yes. That's so wise.
Our little conversation here right now would have happened to the guy sitting next to me on the bus stop. Right? He'd purge, you know. And I had a sense of, well, I'm going to tell you all my stories so that you won't find out later, and we're going to just waste all this time for you to discover I'm not worth your friendship.
Right.
It was kind of like, I'm going to push
Like
you
you-
away.
yeah,
Yep,
yeah,
here it all
that's exactly
is.
it.
Are you sure?
You're going to beat them to the punch.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely
Self-fulfilling
right.
prophecy.
And that
Yeah.
comes down to my self-worth. I did not feel valuable enough to hold my personal story to myself and be selective who I shared it with. And so I shared it with people who took advantage of it. I shared it with people who could see on my forehead victim, and they would go with it. Because not only did I have the big red alert by somebody with my body language, you know, and my insecurities and all of that, but now I'm vocalizing that I'm a victim and poor me and woe is me and just give me a little
The
bit
whole
of love
world
and
is
I'll give you
against
everything
me.
I
Just
own.
open up to the whatever it is that's coming at you. Yeah.
And you know what? People are not always good.
Yeah.
And so I know it's amazing. But I have learned that can I share a poem with you? I wrote a poem.
I would love to hear a
please,
poem.
Please,
Like
please.
I said, when
And what is this
all-
poem all about?
This is about my recovery.
Oh, yes. Melissa, you're great. That's awesome.
I wrote this on Thanksgiving. My husband had pulled a 12-hour shift, so I was basically home alone, no kids, no grandkids, right? Okay.
Good stuff.
I went to bed that night and I laid my head and I went, oh, thank God I didn't use today. And then I said, yeah, I did. So I got up and I wrote a poem.
Okay.
I used since I last saw you, but not my DOC. I used the strength I had in me. I used my knees to kneel and pray, giving thanks for another day. I used my tears to cleanse my soul of the pain I've come to know. I used the NA book and remembered that it works. I used my cherished memories that often comfort me. I used my hope of what's still to come. I used the time to have some fun. I used my laughter to lighten the mood. I used the opportunity to meet somebody new. I used my tools when it came around. I used my knowledge to quiet it down. I used my gratitude to direct my attitude. I used what I have learned from every one of you.
Good.
I used kind words when others spoke to me. I used my boundaries and maintained my integrity. I used my hand to place upon my husband's knee as he prayed for our family. I used my voice reverently as I thanked him for the serenity. I used my wisdom of experiencing this blessing of recovery.
Wow.
That's amazing.
I have no other words.
I love
I'm
it.
going to cut it right there
love it.
and here.
Yeah.
It is beautiful.
That's good.
It
I
summarizes.
didn't use today, but I did. And that's
Oh,
tight.
wow.
I love it.
That is
I
really
love it how
cool.
you took something that was meant for a negative thing, right?
Right.
To be a user. And you completely
Turn it
crushed that
around,
and
yeah.
turned it to a great and most pop. All right there about, yes, I
Beautiful.
did use.
Yes.
Right? But, and it's kind of like when, well, I came to Christ. You know what I mean? I was a fighter. I fought. That's what I did.
The
And
anger. There was a spirit of anger
mad,
in there.
nothing. But I didn't stop fighting. I just
just-
changed up how I fought.
And who the
You know
enemy
what I
was.
mean? And who I fought, right? You know what I
Okay.
mean? And so you're saying I didn't stop using. I just changed up what I used.
Right.
That's great.
It is, I wonder, I'm
Can
going
we
to
post
ask
that?
permission.
Yes,
Yeah,
you can.
I'm just going to say.
Yeah, I want to
Yeah.
post it.
I got another one. Can I read
Absolutely.
you another one? I got one more.
Oh, that would be
yes.
awesome.
Okay. I would
Thank
do
you,
it.
thank you.
This is my.
Can we put it on our website as, you know?
Yeah, I would definitely do that.
Yes,
This
absolutely.
is my 6 months recovery. I got my key tag in 6 months. It's called a key tag for NA, token for AA. 6 months ago, my world came crashing down. At rock bottom is where I was found. I had a choice to make and make it fast. Either start anew or hold on to my past. If I started new, there'd be lots to do, but in my past, I would never last. The pain, the shame, the blaming game, the same old thing day after day. I set myself free with rigorous honesty, letting go of the shame that imprisoned me. Being brave while in vulnerability, I embraced my recovery. I owned my story while loving myself, setting strong boundaries with everyone else. I learned the meaning of true gratitude when I came into the recovery rooms. I opened my mind to a new way of thinking. My willingness became less painstaking. A sponsor found, steps begun. I learned new ways to have some fun. With blind faith, I came to believe that I can achieve anything.
That is awesome. Beautiful, 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 Melissa.
I want to.
Oh, my goodness.
Post that one too. From Melissa P.
Melissa, I am so happily surprised that you came to join us to tell the story about NA and what it means to you and what is recovery. To our friends, to our listeners, the ones who are watching us, there is hope. There is help.
There is.
You know, and this spiritual program, along with others, you know, they use the 12 steps, is a beautiful program. And it is for life. I mean, you know, it doesn't matter what you're going through. There is hope. All of us have been hurt by someone, by life. All of us are in a position of vulnerability, of pain. But it doesn't have to take us to alcohol or drug addiction, because there are tools and there are programs. I mean, you know, if you're suffering from this, please walk into an emergency room, hospital. They will help you, whether you have the monies or not. You have insurance, of course, you know, if you have insurance, it's better, you know. But there are programs, you know. You can go to a psychologist, you can go to a church, you know, where there's counseling. You can go to walk into these rooms. Go to the na.org to find a meeting, because they're happening in every city around the world. To all of our friends around the nations, there is help. And we love you. And yes, this program is a spiritual program that asks you to please, please use your higher power. Go on your knees and say, God, whomever you are, help me, show me. I want to give up this life. I want to give up this pain. I want to be healed so that I can continue on my journey to a life that it is a healthy one for my generations to come. See, when you heal yourself, you also heal your family. And that's the beauty of the recovery programs. Thank you so much, Melissa. Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
Pastor.
Thank you.
I don't know
Thank
what
you.
you wish to say, but
No,
I
no,
am
I'm-
beautifully
I'm-
blessed.
Melissa, bless you. I
Yes.
enjoyed you today. And I know you
Thank
came
you.
in nervous, but you blessed me, and I believe you're going to bless the people.
Yes.
And God bless you.
Thank you.
Continue.
Thank
You
you.
need anything? I'm a friend right here with you. Now, you just come by and just holler at me. I'm
I
here.
will.
All
I will.
right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for tuning in to the podcast here at the Juniper Tree. We love y'all, and tune in for the next one. God bless you.
Yes.